The third question for this week is from a lovely coach from the Netherlands. How to do assessment and quote unquote to know what to look for and fix at the same time. So that's a big one because I used to do assessments like in terms of muscle imbalances and just visually looking at, okay, is one muscle bigger than the other? Just pointing out, okay, you need to do more lat work or you need to do more, whatever, hamstring work. The way I do assessments now is, I'm going to share this with you guys in a second. Those guys on the Zoom call have a big advantage now because I'm going to share my screen now. For you guys on Instagram Live, those sheets I'm going to show here are going to be available on the Traveling Circles as well. I'm going to share them here real quick. There we go. Here we go. So I've come up with a, what do you want to call it, a level hierarchy, which says we're going to use certain exercises to define what your quote unquote weaknesses are and to make an assessment of what you need to work on. So how does this work? So in principle, I have three types of exercises. I have learning exercises, I have training exercises, and I have testing exercises. What's the main difference? A learning exercise is simply to make sure you're starting to use big muscles instead of small muscles. The big purpose, I'm finishing up a book right now about the whole small muscle and big muscle issue is I have a theory, or I had a theory 5 years ago that in training, we're not focusing on big muscles, but on small muscles. So every single syndrome out there, whether that's inflamed shoulders or inflamed hips, piriformis syndrome, rotator cuff issues, like that always has names with small muscles attached to it. And that kind of made me curious. So I had a theory a couple of years ago, which was, okay, if the small muscles are always the issue, what if we're starting to train the big muscles so we can have a little bit of a release for the small muscles? Ooh, what a surprise. And that's how I came up with learning exercises, which are going to teach your body use, for example, the lats instead of your shoulder in a pull-up, right? An example could be the jumping pull-up for starting to learn to use your lats for pulling rather than doing weird shit with your shoulders and using your traps and shoulders and causing issues for your shoulder. Training exercises are super simple. Training exercises follow evolution. Training exercises follow a certain principle, which is they're leading to a certain goal, which is a neutral hip, a neutral spine, and a neutral shoulder. We're going to talk about this in the next couple of calls, but those are my three goals for training exercises. Why is that important? Well, if you don't focus on those three things, you're going to, at some point, fuck up your body. Testing exercises is basically what everybody is doing now in training, which is snatching, barbell back squatting, etc. These are super important exercises for testing purposes. So I'm still doing this, my gym still does it, but the whole purpose here is testing. That means this is the highest skill available. So we're going to train for it and going to test it, whatever, once every 4 weeks, 6 weeks to see if we actually make progress. But the majority of the work, like 80% of the work is going to be in the training. So most of the stuff that you're going to see on here for assessment are going to be training. I'll give you a short example. One of my favorite training exercises, which will lead straight to the assessment, is a sandbag box squat. The sandbag box means you're going to front rack a sandbag, you're going to squat onto a box with your knees at 90 degrees, and I'm going to test your hamstrings if they're capable of creating tension while going down on the box, on the bench, and while coming up. So I'm using training exercises to do assessments so you, as the SSC, have an immediate chance to get feedback on, so this is where I suck at. I can watch the video and be like, okay, this is what I need to work on to make my hamstrings better in that certain pattern with that certain tension so I can start fixing my hips rather than just throwing cues out there or buzzwords like, okay, you need more hamstrings and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to share this